What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Wrasslin for Life Network, and welcome back to another edition of the TNA Impact Review. And I have been away for a minute, but we are back with some TNA reviews. We got a lot to talk about. Joe Hendry is still the TNA World Champion. Masha Slamovich defeated Tessa Blanchard at Rebellion. We have new tag team champions in the tag team division in TNA. So let's not waste any time and get right into it. This is the TNA Impact Review. So let's get straight into it with TNA Impact with Rebellion. What has been going on in TNA wrestling over the past couple of weeks? So at Rebellion, we had a world title match. It was a triple threat match. Ethan Page, Frankie Kazarian, and Joe Hendry. And Joe Hendry retained the TNA World Championship in that triple threat match. Frankie Kazarian actually called his shot in that match. That is why he got that title opportunity. And Ethan Page was this close. Ethan Page was this close to winning the TNA World Championship. But Joe Hendry did defeat both of those gentlemen. But at the end of Rebellion, he was attacked by Trick Williams. Trick Williams wants the TNA World Championship. So now we are at the live episode of TNA Impact with Joe Hendry basically calling Trick Williams out. Now, he called Trick Williams out on NXT, but he was attacked by that new group, and I don't know their name, but he was attacked by that new group on NXT. But on TNA, he called out Trick Williams, and Trick Williams was not there. We thought Trick Williams was not there, but Trick Williams came up via video package and basically said that he is preparing for the battle royal that's going down on this upcoming episode of NXT, but he wishes Joe Hendry good luck. So that was the opening segment of TNA Impact with Joe Hendry calling out Trick Williams. But if you stick around, you'll find out something else as we move along with TNA Impact and the main event, which was a 6-person tag team match. Joe Hendry teaming up with the Hardies to take on Frankie Kazarian and the new TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Nemeths, Ryan and Nick Nemeth. If you've been following the TNA reviews, you know that I praise Mike Santana all the time. Mike Santana is this. Mike Santana is that. Mike Santana will eventually be TNA World Champion. Mike Santana has had a great run in TNA wrestling since returning at Rebellion last year, and this is no different. I'm praising Mike Santana again. Over the past couple of months, Mike Santana has been in a blood feud with Mustapa Ali, and it came to a head at Rebellion. So the first match went down between those two at Sacrifice. Mustapa Ali, obviously the heel in this match, cheated and pinned Mike Santana. Then they had a rematch about a week or so later on TNA Impact, which led to a disqualification, and we finally got to this match at Rebellion. And there has been references to Mike Santana's past with, addiction, and Mustapa Ali really has been a menace and a troll in this entire feud, and Mike Santana has been trying to be that stand-up guy. This has led to the match at Rebellion. It was a Falls Count Anywhere match between Mike Santana and Mustapa Ali, with Mike Santana picking up the victory and arguably the best match at Rebellion. Those two tore the house down. So on this week's episode of TNA Impact, we had to hear from Mike Santana. What is next for Mike Santana? And we heard from Mike Santana after his match against some local talent, which he cleaned that local talent. That was light work for Mike Santana. After that match, he made his statement. He wants the TNA World Championship. He wants Joe Hendry. He wants that title. And I believe as we head into the summer months, as we head into Under Siege, which is the next monthly special for TNA, we got Under Siege, Against All Odds, and then Slammiversary. I feel like as we get towards Slammiversary, we'll potentially start a build with Mike Santana versus Joe Hendry for the TNA World Championship. And this could be the moment where Mike Santana actually wins the TNA World Championship. And I kind of hope that happens. Joe Hendry has been doing his thing. He's been at WrestleMania, y'all. He faced Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Joe Hendry is at the top of his game. So Mike Santana is going to have to step up to face Joe Hendry if this is where we're leading to at Slammiversary. But Mike Santana has said what he wants, and that's the TNA World Championship. And we need to be glued to see where this feud begins with Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. So a lot has changed since the last time I did a TNA review. The digital media title is no more. We now have the TNA International Championship, and we had a tournament that led to Unbreakable to crown the first ever TNA International Champion. And that first ever TNA International Champion is none other than a deserving Steve Macklin. And I have been a huge fan of Steve Macklin for a long time. Steve Macklin deserves the world in TNA wrestling. He has done some great things in TNA. He is great in the ring. He is great in the mic. And Steve Macklin just has that presence to command and own a screen when he is on television for TNA wrestling. So now he is the first ever TNA International Champion. And as we charge to what this championship is going to be in TNA, he is still caught up in a feud with Eric Young. So if we rewind just a tad bit, Steve Macklin and Eric Young were pretty close. They were really tight until Josh Alexander decided to step away from TNA wrestling. And at that point, Eric Young turned on Josh Alexander and aligned himself with Judas Icarus and Travis Williams to reform the Northern Armory. So at this point, this kind of left Steve Macklin at a loss because he thought he had a friend in Eric Young, but it turns out he really doesn't have a friend in Eric Young. So now Steve Macklin is the TNA International Champion, and his first feud is with Eric Young. They're going to continue this feud out. His first defense was against Eric Young. Steve Macklin successfully retained the TNA International Championship, and after the match, he was attacked. And on TNA Impact this week, he was attacked again when we were supposed to hear from Steve Macklin. We were supposed to hear his plans, his thoughts, what is going to become of Steve Macklin as international champion. And we did not get that opportunity because he was attacked by the Northern Armory. So now we got a huge match going down with Steve Macklin, Eric Young, parts of the Northern Armory next week on TNA Impact. But this is not over with Steve Macklin and Eric Young. I think we're going to build towards this with Under Siege. And I feel like if it doesn't end at Under Siege, it'll end at Slammiversary. But I hope Steve Macklin comes out on top with this feud and actually retains the TNA International Championship and holds on to that title for a very long time. He needs a lengthy reign with this title. This title needs to be established as the next prestigious title in TNA wrestling, and Steve Macklin is that man to do it. So keep your eyes glued on Steve Macklin versus Eric Young to see what direction TNA takes us in next. I know a lot of people want to see Moose lose the TNA X Division Championship, and he was this close twice actually in a week span. And at Rebellion, Leon Slater had the X Division title in his grasp. He had climbed over those ropes, grabbed the X Division Championship, and as he was falling, he was speared by Moose, and Moose grabbed the X Division title and retained the title. And the rules of the Ultimate X match state that you have to grab the title and land in the ring with both feet touching the mat with the title in possession And obviously that did not happen for Leon Slater. So now we move on to the TNA episode this past week where the X Division Championship was on the line live on TNA Impact. Moose versus Zachary Wentz. And Zachary Wentz was actually invoking his rematch clause from like last September, October 2024, when he lost the title to Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey eventually dropped the title to Moose. And so now we have this X Division title match. Easily, y'all, the best match of the night on TNA Impact. Moose delivered, Wentz delivered, high spots, high moments. I thought Wentz had it. He was this close. Wentz was this close to winning the X Division Championship. I don't know how close you get at that point to beating Moose, but if you have not seen this match, you need to go out your way and watch this match from TNA Impact. I know it's on the TNA Plus app. I'm sure TNA will upload it on YouTube, but these two gentlemen delivered. So this begs the question, what is next for Moose as X Division champion? And I believe that's Leon Slater. I believe Leon Slater will eventually conquer the giant, which is Moose, and win the X Division Championship potentially at Slammiversary. They are building Leon Slater up as the next top guy in the X Division, and I know he can carry that division on his back. I'm super excited to see if they do develop a Moose and Leon Slater feud out of this, and Leon Slater becomes the X Division champion. Keep watch on this feud because I'm sure it will be good. Alicia Fox, now known as Victoria Crawford, has crossed the line. Yeah, that's what it seems like. Victoria Crawford has crossed the line. So she came out with, I believe his name is Robbie E. I might be wrong, but he's a part of WWE and NXT. And now he is basically policing Santino Marella. This is kind of, a feud between these two because he says TNA management doesn't like what Santino has been doing over the past couple of months in TNA wrestling. So now he has to keep watch over Santino. Everything Santino does, he is going to be watching. But the first order of business was that at Under Siege, Alicia Fox, Victoria Crawford, will be challenging for the Knockouts title against Masha Slamovich. Now, I called this on stream about a week or so ago, maybe during the Rebellion stream, where I said they mentioned Victoria Crawford on commentary. Maybe they're brewing something with Victoria Crawford. Is she going to sign with TNA Wrestling? Is she going to cross the line? We don't know if she's signed yet, but she does have her first match, and it's set next week on TNA Impact. She will be in action, and then at Under Siege, she'll be facing Masha Slamovich for the Knockouts title. What are we doing with Victoria Crawford? I have loved, and I'm going to call her by her old name. I have loved Alicia Fox for a very long time. I think she is a talent. She is really good. She might not be the best on the mic, but she was in part of an era with the Divas where they were not able to showcase what they really could do. She had a match with Jordynne Grace just a couple of months ago before Jordynne Grace jumped ship to WWE and could still do indie dates. And that was a fun match. And Victoria Crawford, Alicia Fox, did pin Jordynne Grace. So what can Alicia Fox, Victoria Crawford do now in TNA wrestling? We got to keep watching to find out. I'm actually interested and excited for the Under Siege match with Masha Slamovich. I'm not going to count anybody out at this point, but I do know I'm a huge fan of Victoria Crawford, and her being in TNA might be a good thing. The Knockout showed up and showed out on the live episode of TNA Impact. One half of Spitfire and Jody Threat took on Maggie Lee, and Maggie Lee has kind of aligned herself with Ash and Heather by Elegance, and there's heat there with Spitfire and Ash and Heather by Elegance, but this match between these two women was excellent. I would call this maybe the second best match of the night. They gave these two women time and they delivered. The knockouts always deliver. The knockouts always deliver in that ring. And this was no different. This is a match you probably need to log on to the TNA Plus app to see. There's not a lot to talk about here. These ladies have animosity, but we have to see where this grows with Maggie Lee aligning herself with Ash and Heather by Elegance and Spitfire kind of being on an island by themselves. So we got to see where this leads, but I'm excited. We have a new knockout in the knockouts division, and that new knockout is former WWE superstar Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell has the name value behind it. Indy Hartwell has the wrestling ability behind her. Indy Hartwell has the mic skills behind her. Indy Hartwell belongs in TNA wrestling, and Indy Hartwell has officially crossed the line. And we heard from Indy Hartwell. She talks about what she wants to do in TNA, mentions the Knockouts Championship. She mentions how she wants to be the knockout in TNA, and she has to get through a few. She has to get through a few of those knockouts. We got Tessa out there. We got Masha out there. We got Jody Thread. We got some knockouts out there that she has to get through. But she said she is the knockout in TNA wrestling. So over the next couple of weeks, over the next couple of months, we will see the development of Indy Hartwell in TNA wrestling. And I'm excited for it. Casey Navaro took on Leon Slater in some singles action, and these two gentlemen are the future of the X division. This match didn't get a lot of time. They had about 5 to 7 minutes to cook, and they utilized every minute they had to showcase what the X division is. They delivered. Leon Slater picked up the victory. And why did Leon Slater pick up the victory? Because Leon Slater is going to be the future X division champion. Mark my words, he will be defeating Moose and winning that X Division championship. They are building that man up in TNA wrestling. But Casey Navaro is not far behind. He's in a tag team. He's in a tag team right now with AJ Francis, but Casey Navaro has talent. He has talent to showcase in the X Division. And if they break him away from AJ Francis, I think that'd be good. If they keep him with AJ Francis, I think that'd be good. But Casey Navaro is a talent in TNA wrestling that will eventually be utilized in that X Division. I wholeheartedly believe it. But Casey Navaro and Leon Slater put on a banger match on this week's episode of TNA Impact. I mentioned this match at the beginning of this review. Now we are here. This is the main event. This is the main event of the live episode of TNA Impact. It is a 6-man tag team match. We got Joe Hendry teaming up with the Hardies to take on Frankie Kazarian and Ryan and Nick Nemeth, the new TNA World Tag Team Champions. And yes, they defeated the Hardies at Rebellion to gain the TNA World Tag Team Championships. This was an incredible 6-man tag team match. Absolutely incredible. This is awesome. Chance ran throughout the arena. Joe Hendry got his moments in. The Hardys got their moments in. Same with Frankie. Same with the Nemeths. But the Nemeths and Frankie Kazarian picked up the win because why? Trick Williams got involved. Whoop that trick. Whoop that trick. He came out and he interjected himself in the match while the referee was not paying attention, and the Nemeths and Frankie Kazarian picked up the victory. He attacked Joe Hendry after the match, held up the TNA World title, and then kind of threw it down on Joe Hendry. But y'all, it is crazy right now in the main event scene. We got some matches that are going down at Under Siege, and Trick Williams is involved. It's a tag team match. Joe Hendry is involved with this tag team match. There's a lot picking up as we get to the summer months, as we get to Under Siege, as we get to Against All Odds, as we get to the big Slammiversary pay-per-view this summer. TNA is cooking. TNA is doing everything right at the moment. TNA has this huge partnership with NXT. TNA is expanding globally. TNA is doing its thing. And if you're not watching it, you are missing out each and every Thursday. Each and every Thursday, TNA is delivering some best wrestling on TV, and you gotta be glued to it. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. That is it for this week's episode of the TNA Impact Review. We covered Rebellion, we covered TNA Impact Live this past week. Y'all, it's going to be a crazy couple of months for TNA Impact, and I will be here. I will be here to give you all of the details, all of the knowledge, everything you need to know, the news updates, the news breaks as we continue down to Under Siege, Against All Odds, and Slammiversary. It's going to be a fun time if you come to the Wrasslin for Life Network and listen to Ringsider Anthony, myself here, as we break down TNA each and every week. Thank you for watching this week. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for listening if you are on the podcasting platforms, and I will see you in the next TNA Impact Review.